At first glance, it seems almost like a riddle, one that seems too bizarre to be true. Italy, a modern and wealthy nation, sits on the edge of the Mediterranean. And Sicily, its massive island, with a population of nearly 5 million, is an integral part of the country. The fifth largest metropolitan area in Italy, Palermo, also resides here. Yet, between this island and the mainland is a narrow expanse of water, the Strait of Messina, which stretches only about 3 kilometers wide. It's so narrow, you can easily see the opposite shore, and yet, despite this apparent closeness, there's no bridge. Instead, Italy relies on ferries that run hundreds of times a day, shuttling people across the gap. So, why can't Italy just build a bridge to its most significant island? To understand this, we must delve into the unique geographical challenges southern Italy faces. Italy's geography, while iconic with its boot-shaped peninsula, is far more complicated than one might expect. It's known for its beauty and tranquility, but what many don't realize is that Italy is one of the most seismically active regions in the world. The southern part, in particular, is a land of constant geological upheaval. The Strait of Messina lies in a geologically turbulent region, known to geographers as a grab in a block of land dropped down between two parallel fault lines. It's a rift that connects to completely different seas, the Tyrrhenian Sea to the north, and the Ionian Sea to the south. These two seas are not just neighbors, they're rivals. They have different temperatures, densities, and salinities, creating an ever-present conflict between them. The strait is a battleground, constantly battling forces from the two seas, and this is what gives the waters their infamous reputation. The tides of these two seas are nearly perfectly out of sync, creating a dangerous phenomenon. When it's high tide in the Ionian Sea, it's low tide in the Tyrrhenian, and the opposite is true as well. Twice a day, this imbalance forces an immense volume of water to surge through the narrow gap, creating a powerful current that moves like a river cascading over a waterfall. These currents can reach speeds of 20 kilometers per hour, swirling into whirlpools that have been the bane of sailors for centuries. This very spot inspired the legendary Greek myths of Scylla and Charybdis, the two sea monsters that guarded the strait. Scylla was said to have 6 heads, which would snatch sailors from their ships, while Charybdis was a massive whirlpool capable of swallowing entire vessels. These were not just myths, they were ways of explaining the terrifying and deadly chaos that ancient sailors encountered in the waters. And that's where the challenge of building a bridge becomes clearer. Imagine constructing massive support piers for a bridge in a place where ancient sailors believed mythical creatures lurked beneath the waves, creating a deadly chaos. But the challenge doesn't end there. The true complexity lies beneath the water's surface. Beneath the strait lies an unstable and ever-shifting seabed. The floor of the strait is filled with hundreds of meters of soft sand, silt, and clay. Anchoring a bridge into such a seabed would be like trying to drive a stake into a shifting pile of sand during a violent storm. Nature itself has kept Sicily separate, from killer currents to an unstable seafloor. These forces of nature are formidable, and any attempt to construct a bridge across this stretch of water must face them head-on. The fury of the sea is only half the story. What truly complicates matters is what lies beneath the waves, the earth itself. The entire region, especially southern Italy, is a geological battleground. Here, the colossal African tectonic plate is slowly but violently diving beneath the Eurasian plate. The Strait of Messina sits right at the fracture point between these two massive plates, where the constant grinding pressure of tectonic activity makes the area one of the most seismically active regions in all of Europe. This means that any structure built here wouldn't just need to withstand a powerful earthquake, it could be directly hit by one. The memories of the area's violent seismic activity are seared into the region's history. On the morning of December 28, 1908, a magnitude 7.1 earthquake struck the strait. The tremors shook the ground violently for over 30 seconds, leveling the cities of Messina in Sicily and Reggio Calabria on the mainland. In the minutes that followed, a massive tsunami, reaching a height of 40 feet, swept ashore, finishing the devastation. Over 80,000 lives were lost in what remains one of Europe's most deadly natural disasters. So, to even attempt to build a bridge in such a location means working on a structure built upon a sleeping dragon. A bridge here would be like building in the eye of a geologically active storm, subject to the whims of the Earth's violent forces. And yet, even with the seismic risk somewhat accounted for, the seabed beneath the strait presents a truly unique engineering nightmare. It's not a solid platform of rock, but rather a deep and unstable trench, filled with hundreds of meters of shifting sand, silt, and clay. Trying to anchor the foundations of what would become the world's longest suspension bridge into such material would be akin to trying to drive a stake into a mountain of shifting sand during a hurricane. It's a task that would seem impossible, and yet, engineers have spent years trying to find a way to overcome this monumental challenge. This isn't just about building a bridge. It's about overcoming the very forces of nature that have kept Sicily separated from the mainland for millennia. The earth, the sea, and the skies above have thrown every possible barrier in the way. But the dream of connecting these two lands has remained stubborn and unyielding. Despite the immense geographical and geological challenges, the dream of a bridge between Sicily and the mainland has never fully died. It has persisted throughout history, through wars, political shifts, and changes in the world order. Yet, the reasons for building this bridge have always been more than just about concrete and steel. It's been a deeply rooted symbol of empire, power, and the complex, often turbulent relationship between Sicily and mainland Italy. For much of its recorded history, Sicily wasn't really Italian in the way we understand the term today. It existed as a world unto itself, a strategic prize at the crossroads of the Mediterranean. In antiquity, it was a jewel in the Greek world, a vital breadbasket for the Roman Empire, and later a prized possession for the Vandals, Byzantines, Arabs, Normans, and Spanish. Its political and cultural ties were often stronger with Athens, Carthage, or Madrid than with Rome. This long history of foreign domination and cultural fusion created a sense of separation, a unique identity that predated the formation of modern Italy by thousands of years. The concept of Sicily as an intrinsic part of a unified Italian state is, therefore, a relatively recent one, only emerging after the 19th century unification of Italy. So, when did the dream of a physical bridge across the strait first begin? Surprisingly, this idea dates back over 2,200 years, to the time of the Romans, when a military leader, Lucius Cassius Metellus, faced a logistical nightmare. In 251 BC, after a decisive victory against Carthage in Sicily, Metellus was tasked with transporting 140 captured war elephants back to the mainland. According to the historian Pliny the Elder, Metellus ordered his engineers to lash together thousands of barrels and planks to create a massive, temporary pontoon bridge across the strait. This was an audacious feat of engineering that stood as a testament to human ingenuity, planting a seed in the Roman mind that this mighty stretch of water could indeed be conquered. For nearly 2,000 years, this idea lay dormant. But with the unification of Italy in the 19th century, the dream was revived not just as a feat of engineering, but as a symbol of a nation coming together. The bridge was seen as a potential final stitch in binding the country together, physically connecting the long isolated south to the heartland of Italy. Despite the passage of time, the ambition remained, even as Italy's political landscape changed dramatically. In the 20th century, under the rise of fascism, the dream of the bridge took on an almost fanatical new life. Benito Mussolini saw the bridge not just as a piece of infrastructure, but as the ultimate expression of fascist power and engineering might. It would be a colossal symbol of Italy's strength, a monumental project that would showcase Italy's power to the world. Detailed plans were drawn up, but Mussolini's grand ambitions were ultimately consumed by the ravages of World War II. Yet, the idea of the bridge didn't die with Mussolini. In the aftermath of the war, during Italy's post-war economic miracle, the nation embarked on large-scale infrastructure projects, knitting the country together with highways and railroads. The dream of the bridge was resurrected, framed this time not as a fascist propaganda piece, but as a vehicle for progress, a lifeline to the impoverished South, a means to spark economic development, and a way to integrate Sicily more fully into Italy's booming economy. This vision fueled decades of promises, studies, and political maneuvering. The bridge became a favorite talking point for ambitious politicians, a grand promise trotted out during election cycles, only to fade away once the votes were counted. The dream, it seemed, was always just out of reach. As we move into the present, the barriers to constructing the bridge are no longer just geographic or geological, they are political, economic, and deeply rooted in the fabric of modern Italian society. Despite the decades of effort and planning, the project has remained elusive, trapped in a web of modern-day challenges that are not easily navigated. One of the most significant of these challenges is the staggering cost of building a bridge across the Strait of Messina. Over the years, the price tag for this ambitious project has ballooned from a few billion to an eye-watering 13.5 billion euros. This figure is so enormous that it's almost abstract. For that kind of money, Italy could build dozens of hospitals, modernize hundreds of schools, or completely overhaul the aging and decaying infrastructure of Sicily and Calabria. This is the core argument made by the critics of the project. For many in southern Italy, the idea of spending billions on a single symbolic structure while their local roads and rail networks crumble feels like a cruel joke. The cost of the bridge has become so great that it gives any government pause. Even those who support the idea find themselves having to contend with the financial realities. Yet, in southern Italy, a project of this magnitude doesn't just attract interest from engineers and politicians, it draws the attention of darker forces. Sicily's powerful mafias, including the notorious Cosa Nostra and Calabria's 'Ndrangheta, have long had their hands deep in the construction industry. For these criminal organizations, public works projects like the bridge represent the contract of the century. They see the massive amount of public money involved as a golden opportunity to enrich themselves. But the mafia's influence is not just about direct extortion or intimidation. They control legitimate-seeming businesses, such as those involved in quarrying, cement production, and waste disposal, and they use political corruption to steer contracts in their direction. Through this system of control, the mafia ensures that a significant portion of the 13.5 billion euros flows directly into their pockets. But here's the most insidious twist in this saga. According to anti-mafia investigators, the greatest profit for these criminal organizations might not be in completing the bridge at all, but in keeping the project perpetually unfinished. A bridge that never quite gets off the ground, that remains stuck in endless delays, studies, and preliminary work, allows the mafia to siphon off public funds year after year without ever having to deliver a finished product. A completed bridge represents the end of the revenue stream, a finished project with no more funds to drain. But an unfinished bridge is a cash cow, constantly providing money to be stolen. This creates an almost impossible dilemma for the Italian government. To build the bridge is to risk handing billions of euros to one of the world's most powerful criminal empires. To abandon it, however, is to surrender to their control over southern Italy's economy. This is compounded by Italy's notoriously unstable political system. Since the end of World War II, the country has seen nearly 70 different governments. Such political instability makes it nearly impossible to commit to a long-term, massive project like this. Governments change, priorities shift, and the bridge continues to pass from one administration to another, each time with a new set of promises and grand plans. The project has become a political hot potato, one that politicians on both sides of the spectrum have used to gain favor with voters. Right-wing politicians, like former Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi, have championed the bridge as a symbol of Italy's strength and progress. Meanwhile, left-wing governments have often dismissed the project, calling it a wasteful and corrupt extravagance. This endless back-and-forth has paralyzed the project, keeping it in a permanent state of limbo, with no resolution in sight. Despite the seemingly insurmountable obstacles, the dream of the bridge has never fully been extinguished. It lingers, stubborn and persistent, waiting for the right moment to emerge once again. In 2023, Italy's new government officially revived the project, reappointing a board to the Strait of Messina company and allocating new funds to update the decades-old plans. For supporters, this was a moment of hope, a glimmer of the long-awaited dream finally becoming a reality. The goal now is to begin construction in 2026, with the bridge expected to be completed by 2032. The vision for the bridge is as captivating as ever. If it were to be built, it would revolutionize travel between Sicily and the mainland, dramatically cutting travel times and boosting tourism to one of Europe's most enchanting regions. It would symbolize Italy's unity, its ability to overcome centuries of geographic and political challenges. For many, the bridge represents a triumph over the past, a bridge not just over the Strait of Messina, but over Italy's turbulent history and the deep divisions that have long defined its south. Yet, for the people of Sicily and Calabria, the revival of the bridge is met with a mixture of hope and deep cynicism. The dream is seductive, but it has been promised and delayed so many times before that many wonder whether this time will be any different. Will this ambitious project be the one that finally delivers on its promises, or will it remain, as it has for generations, a magnificent, impossible dream, forever suspended between the political struggles and the economic realities of modern Italy? The final battle for the Strait of Messina is not just against the sea or the earth, but against the very forces that have shaped modern Italy. The bridge to Sicily, if it is ever completed, will be more than just a feat of engineering. It will be a statement of what Italy can achieve when it finally conquers its internal divisions. But even with all the technological advancements and political will behind it, the project remains a monumental challenge. As the years pass and the dream of the bridge continues to linger in the hearts and minds of Italians, one thing remains certain: whether or not it is ever completed, the story of the Strait of Messina will continue to be a symbol of the struggle between nature, culture, politics, and human ambition. The dream of a bridge will always serve as a reminder that even the most formidable obstacles can be confronted, and that hope, even in the face of centuries of adversity, will never be easily abandoned.